Hey everyone, this is Souvik from Digit, and today we have with us the Sony Xperia Z5. It's Sony's premium flagship, which they launched at the IFA 2015 in Berlin. And ever since then, I've been really excited to get my hands on this phone. Unfortunately, right now I'm kind of running low on power with this phone, so I've got my phone connected to a power bank, and that's not an issue really. Anyway, so the first thing which really got me excited about the Sony Xperia Z5 is how good it looked on screen and in the photos, and in real life also it actually looks that good. Like, as you can see, it's got metal on the sides, on the back it's got a frosted glass panel, and with the logos slightly etched onto the glass. Unlike other phones which use glass as their build on the back, this phone uses a matte glass, or as frosted glass as Sony calls it, and it looks good. It works for me because it doesn't really attract fingerprints. Although I'm not really assured about its durability, because we've heard reports of the frosted glass breaking, and that's not really a good thing to happen, but I have personally not faced any issue with it. So design wise it's really good for me. It's very typically Sony. It's firmly rectangular with slightly curved edges, and even you can see that the edges also are slightly curved, and there's this slight rivet which connects all the edges together. To the left we have the flap, which is added for water resistance, and you've got the SIM slots over here, and there's the Xperia logo, and it kind of really looks nice to me. This is what differentiates the Z5 from Sony's other phones. And we've got all the buttons here, the power button, which also acts as a fingerprint scanner, the volume rocker, and the camera button, which unconventionally is placed on the lower side rather than the upper end as we see on many phones. Now this really works for me, the button arrangement. It's very ergonomic for me because so when I'm typing, the keyboard which comes, there you go, this is the keyboard, and when I want to unlock it, here's the power button, here are the volume rockers if I need it, and here's the camera key. So all the keys are placed within my reach of the fingers, and it's a big phone. It's got a 5.2-inch display, so getting ergonomics right is one big factor, and Sony's got it absolutely spot on. Coming back to the build, you can see that it's premium all the way. It's got very well placed ports. There's absolutely no issue with its placement, and the glass also is smooth. There's no real distortion on the glass. You can even face it to a light and you can see that it's absolutely plain. So there's 100% marks to Sony for its build. And the metal they've used, they've got a slight shimmer on the metal, and we saw the green one which looks even better, but even this one, it's a matte version of gold, and it looks really good. The metal gives it a sturdy feel to it, but the frosted glass is one thing which many people might not like because of its durability, since it's prone to breaking. So that's one thing we've never faced, but if you might have to compromise on your looks for that. Coming to the phone itself, it's waterproofed, so you can actually splash it into a tub of water and it will work fine. Even the ports have waterproofing on their insides. Even the speakerphone and the power and USB port, even they're also waterproofed from the inside. So that is one good thing about it. I'll just unlock it. Yeah. So now here's the display. One thing that Sony has always done consistently is that they've never really bothered about putting a 2K display on this phone, although its bigger brother, the Xperia Z5 Premium, which we'll be getting in a few days, has a 4K resolution display. It's the world's first phone with a 4K resolution display, although it might not be a good news if you want a good battery life from your phone, but we're hoping it will look good, because in a 1080p display it looks fantastic. The colors are well saturated. There's a good amount of contrast on the display. I can try showing you a few photos. If you see this is how good it looks. It's clear, it's pristine, it's got very rich, well saturated colors, and that's what you want from a good display. It's 1080p, it's not 2K as most flagships are doing nowadays, but it's fantastic. The Xperia UI is smooth. I've always liked Xperia UI anyway. It's very toned down, it's matte, and there's no extravagance to the UI. Here's the notification panel, and as you can see, using the Xperia Z5 Premium is so smooth and it's such a good experience. You get the home screen panels. Yeah, I have 5 home screens here. I've got a couple of apps installed, in fact a lot of apps installed. Once I open the app drawer, and here are all my apps which I can sort in whichever order I want to. I can sort it in the most used category. I can use or sort it by name, by date, or in my own order. I can just shift apps here or there. That's one good thing. One thing which we need to mention about the Xperia Z5 is that despite the good ergonomic placement of the buttons, the power button is slightly dented and it's not the most responsive. I'll show you here. When I try to unlock the phone with my fingerprint, it takes a good half a second or a little more than that in comparison to the new phones like the Nexus 5X or even the Honor 7 that we've seen. They have fantastic fingerprint sensors, and Nexus Imprint is probably the fastest. But the fingerprint sensor on the Xperia Z5 works, and you wouldn't really get many missed fingerprints. But it's too dented, and I have to apply that extra amount of pressure to unlock the phone with my fingerprint. There you go. So that's that extra amount of pressure which you might not like, which I didn't like personally. While other buttons are fine, this one particularly is not my favorite. Anyway, so that's one bad aspect about the Xperia Z5. Not bad really, but difficult in terms of usage. Coming to the core performance itself, on regular performance it's smooth, and you can open Facebook, you can open Twitter, and everything goes pretty fast. I'll just show it to you in a while. Network reception on the Xperia Z5, that's also very smooth. I never really faced any network drops despite a lot of network issues coming in, and you can stay within calls and keep downloading apps in the background or keep texting or sending emails to somebody, and the Xperia doesn't hang. So I'll just show you the camera for a bit. So here's the Xperia Z5 camera. It's got a neat layout. These are the modes that you get. We've mostly used the manual mode and 4K video for the kicks, and these are the modes. You've also got a number of downloadable options. You can download a number of different settings which might help you effectively. Resolution you can set here. You can see 23 megapixel over here. The Xperia Z5 uses a larger sensor than what it processes in the images, as a result of which it does letterboxing and pillar boxing to give you 23 megapixel resolution images in 4:3 aspect ratio, or 20 megapixel images in 16:9 aspect ratio. There is a slight amount of crop on either one, and the Xperia Z5 uses its Exmor RS sensor by Sony, which is the latest and the most updated one in a flagship smartphone right now. However, one thing about the Xperia Z5 is that it shoots slightly saturated colors. As you can see, I'm pointing to white, and even in, say, when I've got the color totally balanced, it's got this slight amount of oversaturation in colors. It's got this, its contrast is good, but sometimes it's too sharp, and the saturation is so deep that it makes green look deeper green and matte pink look violet pink, which is not good. And you would really need to fiddle with the camera and reach HDR mode and balance all the colors to get the best photograph out of this. I'll quickly go into the album and show you a few images. These we've just clicked, these are the indoor shots, and this is one shot outdoors. As you can see, it's really clear. It's very clear, and the display makes it look even nicer. And the phone's already heating up as I talk, but I'm already charging it and using it. We'll come to it very soon. The trees, as you can see, it's become slightly darker. We shot this in bright daylight, So it's the lack of dynamic range in the photograph and the camera sensor which causes this. However, I find the colors really balanced here because I had to fiddle around with the settings, adjust the color and the saturation to reach this point where I get original true to source colors. Otherwise, if you shoot in automatic, you'll find these colors very saturated and that might not fit well with you. Now, here are the two photos which we had taken. This one was in bright light source. This one had a very, we had all the fluorescent lights on and we taken this under a shade. And this one was with the direct lights off. So you can see the Xperia Z5 really processes well in low light. You can zoom in and yes, there is a certain amount of noise around the edges of the subject. Even on this side, it's slightly blurry. It's the algorithm of the Xperia Z5's camera which tries to absorb the amount of noise and tone it down. And in the process, it somewhat ends up softening the edges of the camera, or of the photograph, sorry. So that is one thing which you might have to deal with, but this is one of the best cameras which you can use in low light. And this is the bright light, as you can see. Forgive my focusing, but it's really clear. It is exactly the way it was and it processes good images. These are just photos taken by my colleagues. They like doing that. Coming to the UI bit, once again, the music app, it's one good looking music app. You go here, you have the main music panel. You go back, this is the main panel of the welcome panel of the music app. Then you go into options and you have all of these options. You have your playlists, you've got your songs sorted by artists, albums, songs. Then you can create your folders where you access your music from within the app. And that's one good thing. It's not complicated at all. It's got a very simple layout and it's a very accessible layout and a practical layout for one. So that is really good. And you can set timers for your music from here. That's the music app that's done. And this is the Google bundle. You get all the Google apps. You get Google Search, Chrome, Gmail, Maps, YouTube, Google Drive, Play Movies, and Hangouts. If you're one who is using Gmail for your office work, this is one handy platform. And all of this comes packaged as soon as you open or boot the Xperia Z5. Coming into hardcore performance, it is here that the phone, it uses a Snapdragon 810 processor in all its glory. It's clocked at 2 gigahertz. But because of that, while daily performance is really smooth, the Xperia Z5 does heat up. And because of the glass panel on the back, since we spoke about it, it's got a glass panel on the back and that relays the heat. So if you're one who's constantly using the Xperia Z5, you will find the Xperia Z5 heating up. Although when you first open a game, it's much better than the previous attempt. We'll try to show you some of its gaming. Here you go. Oh, okay. So one factor about this is that there you go. I just opened the game and you find a number of stutters coming in. The thing is, when you're on prolonged usage, the Xperia Z5 does stutter. And when you open the camera, there's this slight millisecond lag which comes in because of the processor heating up and the internals attempting to throttle the heat, thereby toning down the performance. So when you're on hardcore gaming, you can survive a maximum of 10 to 15 minutes. After that, you have to take a break, let the phone calm down, and then you can play again. It is one disturbance, I would say, if you are into hardcore mobile gaming. But it's worked for me since I don't play too much on my phone. But yes, whenever I've played on this, the Xperia Z5 won't disappoint you because it's got a fantastic graphics chipset. It uses Adreno 430 and it renders amazing graphics, which looks even better on screen because of the fantastic 1080p display that it has. The display itself is good. I would try to unlock it once again. There you go. You always need that extra bit of pressure on the fingerprint panel. You can turn the display as much as you want, and even at such an acute angle, you can see there's no color shift over here. I can see from this side also there's no color shift at all. It's a fantastic display panel. There you go. And it'll just show you what you've taken on the phone. You can play 1080p movies, and there's no interpolation of videos, there are no stutters. There is a considerable amount of battery drop, yes, but if you're playing your movies on the phone, you will be rest assured that the quality that you see is absolutely brilliant. But playing movies, once again, once you play for too long, in about 10 minutes, you see about 6% battery drop when you're like in the mid battery range, and almost we played for an hour and that had a 14% battery drop, which is not the best battery around, but it still lasts you about a day on an average. I can scroll down, show you that, okay, we have just managed to charge about 13%. That's because I'm simultaneously using the phone and charging it. The Xperia Z5 is running on Android 5.1 Lollipop, and it's scheduled to get the Marshmallow update, so we are hopeful that it'll pump up the UI and pump up its UI fluidity even more. But even as such, you can see it's really smooth. I can open settings, scroll over, and it's really smooth. So that's the Xperia Z5. That's what it's all about. It's about the brilliant camera. Even in video, I can show, we can record a video, and there you go. There's always this 1 second lag which is there when you're recording a video. The video button slightly pulsates, which is a visual addition along with the record timer. I'll just stop the recording, and there you go. It does take time to process and load the video. It's not the fastest around in terms of effective processing. And when you go to the video, you open the app, and it just works just fine. It doesn't really cause you an imbalance, but what it does is that it does take that 1 second or 1.5 second lag in opening the apps. For instance, if I directly want to open Chrome from here, there you go, that opened fast. And every other app, like, it does take like a split second. There you go. There's a blank screen ahead of the calculator, so it doesn't really open up instantly as many other flagships do. I try to open contacts there, that takes time. So if you're one who's not bothered about those millisecond gaps and you want a premium device for yourself that looks good, feels good, and actually feels beautiful in hand, it's a big phone. It's got a 5.2-inch display panel, but Sony has always nailed it in designing, and they've done it again. I can hold it in a palm. I can actually type with one hand, unlock the phone, go into messaging, and there you go. I can actually type in one hand, and I'm not compromising on the grip. It's perfectly balanced on your palm. There you go. So that's really comfortable to use. Locking, unlocking, it's good depending on the, there you go. There's that slight lag that I've been talking about in the Xperia Z5, that half second or 1 second lag. Whenever you open games, you open any even of the lighter apps, like say I'll open calendar, there's that, okay, that took a long time. And we'll try again, close all the apps, and there's that 1 second gap, half a second gap, which I personally, if I am spending over 50,000 on a smartphone, I wouldn't want to see that. And the newer generation smartphones from Samsung, like the Samsung Galaxy S6 series, they do not have that. So in terms of core performance, the Samsung S6 series is definitely better. It's faster, but the Xperia Z5 is fast. It's not slow in any aspect, but the heating issue prevails. Like the phone right now is very hot. It's heated up, and you can feel the heat relaying from the glass panel, and you cannot really keep holding the phone when it heats up. You have to just leave it elsewhere to cool, because it has the potential to burn your pockets, even in terms of price. One thing that I've forgotten to mention is the fantastic audio in this one. It's got a speaker here, and it uses the other side speaker to give you stereo sound. So if you're watching a movie like this, it's got speakers on this side and it's got speakers on this side also, to the left and right, which does deliver left-right stereo channel audio output through a phone. And the Xperia Z5's inbuilt audio is one of the best that we've seen of late. It's excellent, and you can actually use it as a portable speaker when you go out or you're indoors with a couple of friends trying to enjoy your music. It's really good, and you can and it's pretty loud, so you don't need to worry about the loudness, especially if you're indoors. In outdoors, you'd probably still need a speaker. Talking about its battery life, it's not bad, and on moderate usage you can do a number of phone calls, you can do a couple of messages and social media streaming, take a few photos or videos, and maybe 10 to 15 minutes of gaming. The heat won't permit you to game more than that anyway. So if you do that, you could last the phone for an entire day and come back with about 15% charge remaining. So it's almost an entire day's cycle of usage, but not more than that at all. And if you are one who uses your phone a lot, if you shoot a lot of emails, a lot of graphic intensive work, then you definitely need a portable charger. You need to carry it around for usage. And so that's about it. That is the Sony Xperia Z5. What I really love about it is its good camera. The 20 megapixel, the new sensor, really shoots good photographs and they're clear. But one thing that Sony has spoken about is the 0.03 second autofocus, and it's not that fast. I'd show you if I place this object here. There you go. If I defocus, and it takes definitely more than that. I'm shooting in a little bit of a low light, so it takes much more than 0.03 seconds. It's visibly at least half a second for me right away. So it's not the 0.03 second that they advertised. It's fast nonetheless, but it's not that fast. Shooting in 4K is one more aspect. Shoot in 4K and for about 30 seconds, and the device really heats up. The quality, as we've said, with the camera by default is oversaturated colors, but it's very clear and it's pristine. Nonetheless, shooting in 4K is not one thing that you'd probably really do every day. The Xperia Z5 comes with 32 GB of storage and 3 gigahertz of RAM. The RAM is ample and there's no problem in everyday usage, but while shooting 4K, while there are no stutters as such, the heat and the overall size might prohibit you from using the 4K video recording that the Xperia Z5 has too often. So that is the Sony Xperia Z5 for you. Sony has worked on the problems that it faced with the Xperia Z3 Plus. It kept heating up and it wasn't really usable. The Xperia Z5 definitely is more usable, and it's a definite upgrade in terms of the camera that they've used, in terms of the audio performance, and gaming performance is much better. And if you're one who likes the design of Sony, and this is one really well built smartphone, it looks really good. So if you're one who's looking for a well designed and well built smartphone, flagship phone, you can go for the Xperia Z5. But if you want to go for core performance, if you do not want to face those 1 second lags, half a second lags, you would probably look elsewhere, because at 53,000 rupees, this is not exactly cheap or very affordable, I would say. So that's the Xperia Z5 for you, ladies and gentlemen.